Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. Okay, so as you can see, if you're on the YouTube show, the studio I've been talking about for a while, it is done. It is done. We're set. Jacob, full screen me for a sec. Sorry, Harm. Full screen me here. It's done. This is what the studio looks like. I'm very excited about it. I spent the weekend building it. It's been a while in planning, but it's built. We're good to go. A little Pavel Bure rookie card on the wall there. You know, the essentials. I've got the essentials on the wall. And of course, my name is David Quadrelli. I'm joined by Harman Dial. Harman, I feel bad for your background now. Just getting upstaged by me right now.
I know. Before it was kind of passable, I'm not going to lie. But now this is a pretty killer backdrop, and it's making my blank wall look that much more bare and worse.
We've got good ideas, though. This shows that we have the technology to give you a nice background, and we're gonna do that one day. Okay, before we go any further, I want to make sure that we mention our Super Chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation. You want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show? Hit us with a Super Chat. All of our proceeds will go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Harman, I got something to get off my chest really early here. This conversation happening online right now, dominating every online circle I'm finding, about the poor Leafs. Won't somebody think of Mitch Marner and all this? Won't somebody please think of the poor Toronto Maple Leafs who have to play in a market that cares about the team? Honestly, first of all, that shows that people care about your sport. People caring about your sport and your team is something you want. The idea that just go play in go play in the States or whatever, you're gonna have a great time. The only reason for that is because nobody cares about it down there. So congrats, but you're not gonna become a legend of the sport playing in Florida. You're not. You might win a cup or two, sure, as we're seeing right now. But you're not going to become a legend of the sport. What happened to that? What happened to wanting the pressure? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into it too much more. I hope. We'll see. I want to talk to Jeff about it as well. But man, right now, the idea that these poor Leafs having to deal with the market pressure, just stop. And it came from the Panthers too, which really pissed me off.
No, that's gaslighting. So that's a high IQ move by Matthew Tkachuk and Brad Marchand to sort of be like, oh, nothing's actually wrong with the players. It's just the market. It's the fan base's problem. Please, Brad Treliving, Brendan Shanahan, if you're back, do not change your core, because we'd love to play the same version of the Toronto Maple Leafs every year in the playoffs. That's just gaslighting. It's elite level trolling.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Steve Dangle had a really funny tweet too, where he just said, straw houses are great. I don't know what the whole move to brick is. I don't know why anybody wants to move to brick, said the wolf. It's so true. It's absolutely true. And it's BS, man. It's BS. And also, we should also mention that this is not anything new. And obviously it's getting some new life, because what was the quote from Tkachuk? It was specifically about, like, that core is great. They just have too much pressure on them playing in Toronto. Like, it was something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why it's being given new life, is because a player said it. And I don't know, man. It annoys me. It annoys me. And the idea that, Vancouver, such a hard market to play in, get over yourselves. I'm sorry, get over yourselves. It was never a problem for the Sedins. I don't want to even hear about it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. We're going to get to Jeff in a second, because Jeff will be with me on this, I think. But yeah, just this Maple Leafs meltdown.
Two things.
We didn't even talk about that yet.
First of all, it should be patronizing. The Leafs should feel patronized that other teams are talking about them that way. Just to give them the little pat, the pat on the head that you're really talented, buddy. Just next time, stick with it. Like, come on. This isn't a young core anymore. These are grown men that have failed time after time in the playoffs. They don't need to be coddled anymore, and I would feel patronized if I was a Leafs player in that situation. Secondly, the pressure of playing in Toronto, yeah, it's greater than it is in certain American markets, unquestionably. When things go against you, is there additional sort of weight and anxiety that players might be feeling? For sure. But it also pales in comparison to other sports, right? What pressure does LeBron James face when he's been the guy, the icon in the NBA for the last 20 years, especially going to markets like LA. That hasn't stopped him from winning championships. The Boston Celtics, you know how much pressure was on Tatum and the Celtics before they won that recent chip of just regular season team that can't get it done in the playoffs. There was enormous pressure for Tatum and his legacy to actually get it done. And Boston as a basketball city, those fans go nuts. European soccer.
Oh, don't even. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not even comparable. And those players in those big market teams, I mean, you even want to talk about the MLB and teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers. The pressure in those other sports and markets pales in comparison to what Leafs players experience. And finally, the final point I want to make is people talk about, the media and the fan base is always in a frenzy. It's a circus. Well, the reason it's a circus is because the on-ice product has been a circus. Forget about Toronto factor. How embarrassing is it to make the playoffs that many times and still have fewer playoff series victories than the Vancouver Canucks over the last 9 years? Like, that's embarrassing on any level. And the frenzy, the negativity, yes, it can be a little bit over the top at times, but it's a product of the on-ice failures, not the other way around. It's not that the Leafs are failing because of the media and fan pressure. It's that there's a lot of media and fan pressure because the Leafs keep failing every year in the playoffs.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I won't try to. We could probably do an entire episode on where the Leafs go from here, as I'm sure everybody would want us to do. And we will do that soon. But before that, we're going to chat with Jeff Paterson, who's brought to you by our friends at Pacific Toyota, who want to tell you about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X, an SUV packed with plenty of space. The BZ4X can handle any terrain and can take you from the city to the slopes. It's backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota. And if you're driving a BZ4X, you get access to HOV lanes, even if you're driving alone. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get a $5,000 incentive, and now you can finance 2025 BZ4X LE all-wheel drive from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right. Let's bring him in. Jeff Paterson. Jeff, you've been a part of the evil media out here in Vancouver for quite some time now. What's your reaction to all this stuff from the weekend about, what a tough market to play in?
Well, first of all, Noah Juulsen's socks look incredible dangling behind you there. The studio looks great, by the way. Congrats. And now I'm thinking to myself, Harm, you do have some work to do here, but there's an opportunity. Like, this offseason, Canucks Convo should run some sort of test to get a viewer to come in and paint a mural behind you. Like, let them do all the work, take that wall, and literally a clean slate. Like, it is a blank canvas there behind you. Somebody could come in and do some artwork, and away you go for the 2025-26 season. So just something to consider.
Yeah, I don't know about painting a mural exactly. I think I like the backdrop idea better, but it would be fun.
Just listening to you guys, and look, you could go on for days with examples, but like Tom Brady had some success you mentioned Boston as a basketball market. It's just one of the great sports towns in the United States. And Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were able to rise above and continually have success. The Dallas Cowboys, think about the coverage of a team like the Dallas Cowboys in the state of Texas, playing that sport. And they've won championships through the years as well. It goes on and on. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens for all those years as well. I know that that wasn't in the social media age, but you're telling me French and English and the media coverage, the demands on the players then. Look, everybody's looking for an excuse for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, we're told repeatedly that you learn from your mistakes and you learn from hardship, and it builds character. Like, those guys should have so much character coming out their ears by now. It is remarkable. And what struck me on Sunday night, guys, was they looked totally spooked and completely unready to play. Like, Florida had the first, 8 shots, but it was, I think, 25 shot attempts in that hockey game. Like, how is that possible? You absolutely crapped the bed at home in Game 5. You found a way to get this thing back to home for Game 7, and then that was the response. And so not going to find any sympathy from me here for the Toronto Maple Leafs and where they go from here. It's going to be fascinating to watch from an arm's length. Of course, our focus is on what's happening here, and it's going to be an interesting offseason as well for the Vancouver Canucks. But yeah, running it back again for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that doesn't seem like it would be a terribly productive plan.
To continue on the theme of the playoffs, we now have the conference final matchups in the East and West set up. I think the one in the West is probably a little bit more interesting and exciting. Funny also that it's a rematch and 3 of the 4 conference finalists are the same as last year. Do you think the Stars, now that they have Mikko Rantanen, can take down the Oilers this time? How do you look at that series?
Look, I've been all in on the Dallas Stars really for much of the season, and then they went out and they made the Mikko Rantanen trade, and I was like, oh my God, like these guys, last year it was Tanev. They've been a good team, and they've been willing to be aggressive and make trades and bring in better players to help the hockey club. And yet, the last 2 games, the game in Winnipeg that sent it back to Dallas, and then the game the other night, like I wasn't terribly inspired by the Stars. Now they won in overtime and they advanced and they get a few days off here and they'll be ready to go. They should be hungry and motivated because they lost to the Oilers last year. I think I picked them to win last year and they didn't get it done. But I don't know. As much as I've liked the Dallas Stars for the entire season, these last couple of games, I was left wanting more. And it's so obvious that Jason Robertson's not 100%. I mean, lots of guys are playing through things, but when we're looking at guys that haven't really left an impact, like Matthew Tkachuk really hasn't done much for the Panthers, and we know that he was banged up and missed a lot of time. That comes with the territory at this stage of the season. If Robertson can get healthier and be more of an impact player, man, like look out. As it is, like, we look at the Vancouver. I try to watch the playoffs through a Canucks lens, and people here will say, like, look at the Canucks top 3 on defense, Quinn and Hronek, and now you got Marcus Pettersson. And then I look at the Dallas Stars, and I think, Heiskanen, Harley, and Lindell, like that's a big 3 that you're building around on the back end. Like with those 3 guys, one of them can be on the ice the entire game, essentially, if you want to run your defense that way. So, I give them an edge in goal with Ottinger and the way that he played, particularly in the last series. They're starting at home. We'll see if they can make that stand up. I don't know if this is an anti-Edmonton stance, but yeah, like I think I picked Dallas to win last year and they didn't get it right, so I'm going to stick with them. But we know what Connor and Leon can do on any given night. And of course, this year, Oilers looking a whole lot deeper, and it's not just a 2-man team. And if they get Ekholm back, how much does that help them as well? So really looking forward to it. I like that matchup. I think stylistically, it's going to be a fun series to watch. And with the backstory of recent history as well, we always say that's where rivalries are built. There should be some bad blood early, I would think. So, yeah, bring it on. Looking forward to the Stars and the Oilers.
Rick Tocchet was on Donnie and Dolly earlier today. We're going to talk about that interview later in our show, but I wanted to get a reaction to Tocchet coming out and basically saying, yeah, I think the direct quote was, I'd be lying if I said the practice facility didn't have something to do with it, which we kind of knew was the case, especially when he was gushing about the Flyers practice facility at his first media conference as the Flyers head coach. But what did you make of that?
I got a kick out of Donnie asking him if he was doing the interview from the practice facility in Philadelphia. He laughed at that as well. It was funny because he talked in circles right off the hop when he was asked point blank about why you left Vancouver. And he buttered up the Canucks and said all sorts of nice things, but he really didn't shed an awful lot of light in the actual reasons other than he wanted a reset and a change at this stage of his life. I think we understand a lot of the reasons for the decision that he made. But on the practice facility, like I sort of feel like I've said everything that I got to say. They need one. It's just the price of doing business in today's National Hockey League. And if you don't have one, and they're one of only 2 teams that don't right now, you're falling behind. And whether it's having a couple of sheets of ice so that you can, know for sure that your injured players are going to have a place to skate and rehab, while at the same time you've got a full sheet for your team to practice. You saw the way Rick Tocchet used multiple sheets at training camp in Penticton. But beyond the sheets of ice, it's more of a clubhouse and a hangout. It's just a safe space for the players. It's the lounge. It's a kitchen to prepare meals. It's the medical facilities, the weight room. It's, a video theater, essentially. All those types of things that they go to UBC. They have to pack up and shove into all these tiny little dressing rooms out there. Are they still able to practice? Sure they are, but it's just not up to NHL standards. So, the Flyers are on a long list of teams that have these incredible facilities. If people haven't had an opportunity to check them out themselves or to see video of them, I when I was out there traveling just before the pandemic, and Harm, you've been out on the road and I'm sure seen the Canucks practice, and some of these visiting, like Vegas has an amazing one. Detroit's is probably, to me, Detroit's is still the coolest because it's underground. The practice facility is a floor below the game rink, but the Wings can use their own locker room. They turn right to go to the main ice. They turn left to go to the practice sheet. They take an elevator or down some stairs, and they've got this full little mini rink with seats for probably 1,000 people. But just think of how the Canucks training staff has to pack everything up in vans and get it to UBC. A team like Detroit, they're using their same locker room, all of the back of house facilities, and they just would make life so much easier and better to treat the injuries and the therapy and all that kind of stuff for the players. So we're going to keep talking about it until we hear that there's going to be a shovel in the ground and that they've purchased a plot of land and all that kind of stuff. So the storyline's not going away. But you just wonder the opportunity cost here, like how much is it hurting the Vancouver Canucks because they don't have this practice facility?
Jeff, this was a question from a regular listener of our show, Travis Wall. He said, I was curious roughly what the amount of times the Canucks practiced at UBC during the NHL season was. You were at all the practices. If I was going to guess, I would say it's between 10 to 20. I don't know which number it's closer to, or even if I'm way off, what's your guess? Like, how many times did the Canucks practice at UBC this year?
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair number. And so people would say, well, that's only 20 occasions. Fair enough. It's not 50 or 100. But there's also the summer component, in terms of if you had guys in town or they wanted to come back town early, you could make sure that you had ice ready for them. So it's not just the 15 to 20 practices. Look, the Canucks are in the business. The Canucks as an organization and the business are in the business of making money. And so concerts are lucrative, right? You rent out your building and somebody comes in and puts on a show and they leave. You're not paying their salaries. You're getting a cut of everything. All the beer and popcorn and hot dogs that are sold, that's right into your pocket. So the Aquilini's like putting concerts through their building. I understand that. And then you got the Warriors and they need their floor down. And so that's another tenant that bumps them. And so, yeah, it's a busy facility. And it's just another reason why at the end of the day, they need their own practice place.
I'll be honest, I never once, when I got into this industry thought we'd be spending this much time talking about practice facilities. It's actually kind of wild. To shift to Abby, 1-1 in the series so far with the Colorado Eagles. They won game 1, courtesy and Artur Shilov shutout, lost game 2. What have you seen in that series so far?
Yeah, Colorado responded as you figured they would. Full credit to them. They came out and punched Shilovs and the Canucks in the face 2 minutes into game number 2. They hadn't been shut out all season. And so they're not used to this. They're the highest scoring team in the American Hockey League. And full credit to Abbotsford. And Shilovs was good. Game 1 was scoreless until 5 minutes to go in the second period. And then Abby scored on a power play. I've got a column up at CanucksArmy right now. The thrust is, and look, Abbotsford's done well. Like they're 1-1 tie here. Now they head out on the road, but they're into the third round of the playoffs. But they've been doing it on the back of goaltending and the depth of this hockey club. I think 15 different guys have scored at least once, but in their last 3 games, they have 7 goals and 2 of them are into an empty net. So 3 power play goals and 2 5-on-5 goals. It kind of feels like Colorado's into this series now. They scored 5 the other night, and they go back home now where they're the best team in the American Hockey League all year on home ice and the highest scoring team. I think Abbotsford's going to have trouble winning games 2-0 or 2-1. They need some guys to step up. Like Sammy Blais, we've talked about him a lot. He hasn't scored since the opening round, and all 3 of his goals have come on the power play. So at even strength, like there really hasn't been a huge contribution from Blais. Arshdeep Bains hasn't scored yet in the playoffs. They're 9 games in. This guy led Abbotsford in scoring during the regular season. Lekermacki, it was good to see him score his first the other day, but that's his first to the playoffs. On and on it goes. Like Linus Karlsson leads the team with 4 goals in the playoffs, 4 goals in 9 games. You think, okay, like that's not a terrible pace. But he scored in each of the first 2 games against Tucson way back when, and then has scored in the last couple of games, 1 into an empty net and 1 on a power play. So 5-on-5 offense has been an issue, and I think even Manny Malhotra would tell you that. I just thought that Colorado stepped up, and that's what playoffs are all about. It's adjustments, it's responses. They didn't want any part of going back home down 2-0. Even though they're the best team on home ice, like that's still a big ask. So it was a massive win for Colorado the other night. I thought Abbotsford made some mistakes, and quite frankly, Artur Silovs, you can't bank on him having a shutout every game. It just kind of felt like that for a little while. But even those 2-0 wins, that puts a lot of pressure on your goaltender. And he was good, but he wasn't very good on Sunday. And he had the one that banked in off him from the corner, in an opportune time for a bad goal. It was a 1-1 tie at the time. So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to bounce back, but they're going to have to bounce back. And they know now that they've got to win 2 of 3 in a building that hasn't been kind to visitors. And so if they're going to win this series, I certainly think the blueprint would be to get the game on Wednesday night, get back in front. If you go down 2-1 and then you're backed into a corner, that's going to be a massive ask. So let's see what happens. But I would just say a little bit more from a few more of the top end guys. That's what I would like to see from the Abbotsford Canucks, rather than relying on a 16th and a 17th different guy to get you 1 goal. I'd like a few of your stars to really step up. And Arshdeep Bains is the guy that I look at. I know he can be better, and quite frankly, he has to be now if they're going to extend their season.
Jeff, I know injury updates are very hard to come by in the AHL, especially the AHL playoffs. We have a listener just asking where Aatu Räty is. Do we have any knowledge of that?
None whatsoever. And that is the sort of disappointing and frustrating part is he got hurt in the Coachella Valley Series Game 2, left and hasn't been seen since, hasn't been at practices. I'd be surprised if he's out on the road, but I don't know that. And again, that's where it comes back to injury updates. He might be ready to go, and we just don't know that either. He hadn't been terribly productive. He had been a little disappointing and underwhelming in the games that he had played here in the playoffs, but he makes them better, obviously, and in all situations. So they certainly would welcome him back if they can get him. I'm at a point now, guys, where I'm wondering, is this the kind of injury that is going to impact his summer training? Like, we just don't know. And so this could be a long-term thing. Manny kind of laughed when he was asked for an update, and he just said everybody's day to day at this stage. He wasn't going to get into it, but there's really been nothing, and so maybe it is something worth looking into a little bit more here. Because if the Canucks don't get past Colorado, their season is done. You hope that it's not a kind of injury that is going to hold Aatu Räty back, because we know that opportunity is knocking for him at the big league level here. You'd love for him to have the kind of summer that he needs to take his best shot at cracking the roster out of training camp.
Adam Foote's team. This is actually our first chance to talk to you since the Canucks announced Adam Foote as head coach of the team. It seems like it was a long time ago, but it was just last week, and we haven't talked to you since. Just your reaction to that decision. I thought Manny was the guy for the job. Even though he's only had this year as a head coach in professional hockey, he's done a nice job down in Abbotsford. I kind of felt that he was the front runner. It sounds like Adam Foote interviewed really well. I know that Darren Dreger has said that he felt like Foote impressed them so much that basically won himself the job, talked his way into it. I understand the continuity. I understand the Quinn Hughes angle to all of it. But it's one thing for Quinn to like Adam Foote as the good cop assistant coach. Like, does the dynamic change at all with Adam calling the shots and spending less time around the defenseman exclusively? So, I think it's important to keep Quinn happy. And we know that the next couple of seasons certainly are going to impact the future, short and long term, for the Vancouver Canucks when it comes to Quinn Hughes and his decision to stay here. So I think it's important they took that into account. But I also think it's a team game, and you can't cater to one guy, even if that one guy means the world to the organization. So I'm willing to give Adam Foote a chance. It's a unique hire, and as much as his head coaching experience amounted to 1 year and one sort of dysfunctional and disappointing season, parts of 2, in Kelowna, and you talk to people around the Western Hockey League, like, they weren't terribly impressed with the work that he did as a head coach. But, I hope he learned from it. I hope he has grown from it. We heard him the other day. I thought he came prepared with the answers to the questions that were posed. That said, that might be the easiest day. You're brand new, you're trotted out, everything's great, optimism abounds. He's got his work cut out for him. And I'm really curious about the assistants that they're going to bring in to work with him. I do hope that, and I kind of feel strongly that he's the kind of guy that probably needs somebody with NHL head coaching experience, a veteran voice, somebody that's been through the battles here. That to me feels like it would be the right sort of fit. And if it's somebody that can focus on offense and the power play, so much the better. But no, I'm willing to give him an opportunity, and the fact that he was here and is familiar with the operation, both good and bad, I would imagine that will help him. But I still feel like, without knowing his roster entirely,
He's going to rely on management to go out there and fill some significant holes, and then he's going to have his work cut out for him.
Going back to Abby for a second, you mentioned Lekkerimäki finally breaking through with his first goal of the playoffs recently. How has he looked overall, even outside of that goal? Do you feel like he's building towards something? Does he look more dangerous offensively? And for a couple of the youngsters on the back end, how have those guys performed in your mind?
Yeah, it's been a tough go-harm for Lekkerimäki, just the grind of playoff hockey, even at the American Hockey League level. I think you're reminded of why guys like Sammy Blais and Jujhar Khaira are able to excel. Like, they're big bodies that have been through the battles at the NHL level and now here in the American Hockey League. Jason Megna still going strong on the other side for Colorado. So, yeah, you'd like a rookie to step up and do his thing. That said, there's still a lot of learning. And Lekkerimäki hasn't been terribly involved. We haven't seen a lot of the shot. I mean, the goal was nice off face-off. If people haven't seen it, he jumps his man, gets to the inside, and pounces on a loose puck and was able to snap it home. And he had an assist as well. So he was in on 2 of the 3 goals. I don't want to sound like I'm down on him. I hope that's a jumping on point for him in terms of his production moving forward. But, there's been lots of battles where you kind of would like to see a little bit more. And he got absolutely hammered on a hit by one of the Colorado defensemen, went in on the forecheck and just got rocked. And fortunately was able to pop back up and, carry on. So that was a good sign there. But yeah, I think he's finding the rigors of playoff hockey pretty difficult for his first go round. And so, when we think of this is a guy that a lot of people are penciling in, or maybe even in ink, to fill Brock Besser's spot and score 30 goals, like that feels like a reach at this stage right here, right now. As for defenseman, Mancini's been terrific at the American Hockey League level. I know you guys had a good visit with him not that long ago. He looks like a different player at that level of confidence. The play that he made, the anticipation, the read, and the reaction to break up the play when Colorado was pressing for the equalizer with the goal he pulled the other night, and then races up ice and scores into an empty netter. Like, that was a big time goal. So impressive stuff there. Kirill Kudryavtsev continues to impress. Like, there's just the well-rounded game. For a young guy in his first season of professional hockey, certainly hasn't looked overwhelmed. When teams are swarming on the forecheck, he's got the calm presence there to either skate the puck out of trouble or, that first pass to move it up ice. So I've been impressed with both those guys, and that's a good sign for this Abbotsford team. But, I come back to this idea of veterans, like guys like Guillaume Brisebois and Akito Hirose. They've been terrific. And, as much as you'd like to develop young players, ultimately Abbotsford's trying to win hockey games. And so if it means that veterans carry the day and are the best players on the ice, nobody in the Abbotsford organization is going to complain about that. It's whatever it takes to get the job done. So, they've done a nice job. They're going to have their hands full now, moving on out on the road. Colorado got the split it was looking for. But among some of those young guys defensively, I think those Kudryavtsev and Mancini probably a little bit more than Jonathan Lekkerimäki to this point have been the guys that have caught my attention.
All right, series is deadlocked. We're going to find a winner soon. You can read about it at CanucksArmy.com, and of course you can catch Jeff on Rinkwide. Just Rinkwide. You can catch Jeff on Rinkwide after every Abbotsford Canucks games, along with Canucks Army's Dave
back
Hall.
at it Wednesday. It's kind of lost in the long weekend here. I keep thinking I got a few more days, but no, it's Tuesday, so we'll be back at it tomorrow night.
Have you started to think about your plan if this goes to Game 5 and you have a 2 p.m. start?
Yeah, I'm just going to do what I always do. I'll watch it. I probably won't be watching Convo that afternoon because I'll have my attention focused on, and there might be a few others. Give you a heads up there. But hey, maybe Abby takes this thing in 4 and we don't have to worry about any of that.
There you go. Jeff, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it as always.
All right, guys.
There he is, Jeff Paterson, who wrote something about the Abbotsford Canucks today at CanucksArmy.com. You can go read about that. Okay, got a few things to get to, but before that I want to tell you about a couple of our sponsors, the first of which is the Vancouver Whitecaps. Through 12 match days of MLS regular season action, Vancouver Whitecaps FC lead the MLS Supporters Shield and Western Conference standings thanks to a club record 8-1-3 start to the season. Over the last 5 weeks, the Blue and White have put together a club record 11-game unbeaten run across all competition. The Caps will aim to continue their fine form with the first of 2 consecutive MLS road matches against Western Conference opposition, starting with a visit to Austin FC this Saturday. Oh no, that just happened. What happened in that game? No one updated my script. Anyways, regardless, one thing that's still to come is the Canucks playing in the 2020 the Whitecaps playing in the 2025 CONCACAF Champions Cup final on Sunday, June 1st against Cruz Azul. This one's a big deal, okay? This is the first time in club history Whitecaps FC has reached the final, and just the third time a Canadian team has reached the final. Obviously, and we've explained this before, but think of that like the Euro Cup or the Champions. What is it? The Champions League? Yeah, think of it like the Champions League, but it's for the North American clubs. So, Canadian team getting there. That's a big deal. Anyways, for more information on how to get tickets or watch the match, visit whitecapsfc.com. All right. I knew that was going to happen, that at one point I would say Canucks instead of Whitecaps.
It's also really funny just in general hearing you talk about soccer, the Euro Cup, and just like you're working hard, you're trying. I give you your props, but you clearly don't really know what you're talking about. And that's right. Okay. This is a hockey show.
Harmon wants to do the soccer ad read. No problem. No problem. Harmon's got the Whitecaps reads from here on out. Everybody heard it.
I think everyone loves hearing you struggle through these.
Well, remember last year? And we appreciate the Whitecaps coming aboard. Of course, we appreciate the Whitecaps coming aboard. But remember last year when we had like a 5-minute segment on the name Real Salt Lake? I was like, are you kidding me? They call their team Real Salt Lake. It's just real. It's pronounced real. Nobody in Salt Lake is calling it Real Salt Lake. We're talking Utah here. Real Salt Lake. That's how I read it. That's how I'm going with it. Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake. All right. Let's go. Let's get to our friends at Greta. Okay. Greta Bar YVR. Great spot to watch games. 5 o'clock start today. You get off work, head on down to Greta. Catch the first game of the Eastern Conference Final. Greta's a great spot for all games. It's the home of our electric watch parties during the year. And of course, with the bar, the arcade, and the iconic street food menu, Greta's a spot to be. Make sure you head on down there next time you're downtown. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. All right, now let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians. Another one of my scripts. Who's responsible for updating my scripts? Because it's not me, and I don't know anything about I don't have anything written down about the C's, but I'll just tell you off the cuff about the C's. All right. It was a good one. Against Everett. They got rained out a couple times, but they had some good games. They lost the series in the end, but they also won 9-4 on Asahi night. They also won 5-0 the night after that. And then it was close games. It was a 4-5 loss and a 6-7 loss following that. And then they lost 0-1. That is tough. All right. That's a tough loss. They lost 0-1. 1-0. That
Quads is just in it right now.
Baseball game is tough to watch. That is really tough to watch.
Okay, hold on. Harmon's point, you struggled through the soccer read. We get that. You're struggling through the baseball read now.
What read? I'm not reading anything. I'm going off the cuff about minor league baseball.
I give Quad some slack on this one. He apparently has no read.
I'm about to tell you that they're facing Eugene. I think they're called the Emeralds. They're in Eugene tonight. That's right. Boom. See, I know my stuff. And Treya Savage, top prospect in the Jays organization. How about that, Jacob? Tell me I don't know my stuff. Treya Savage.
I did just put that in our chat, so I don't know if you saw it from there or not.
I can tell you all about Treya Savage. I can tell you how he's been doing in Dunedin. I think he's up to like a 1.40 ERA. He gets the promotion to high A Vancouver. He's moving on up, folks. Like I said, I've been telling you about Arjun Amala all season long. You're missing time to go see these future MLB players play in Vancouver. So make sure you head on down. We told you about Ricky Tiedemann a few years ago. Obviously, he's been on the show. Friend of the show, Ricky Tiedemann. Book Treya Savage. There's a guy we want. There's a name, Treya Savage. Get him on the show, Jacob. All right, we've taken.
I'll see what I can do about that.
All right, to get your tickets, call 604-872-5232 or check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Okay, so we talked about this interview with Rick Tocchet. I think the highlights of it were Rick Tocchet got asked point blank. Great job by Donnie and Dolly, right? Doing the interview. They did a great job. He got asked point blank about people that call him a quitter, right? And Dolly even used his own slogans against him, which I really like to see.
That was really such funny. An awesome question.
It was so funny that he's like, oh, meet pressure with pressure, embrace the hard. Well, you quit. But he didn't say it quite like that. But anyway, it was a really good interview from our friends over at Donnie and Dolly. What was your takeaway from that one, Harm?
Yeah, he tap danced a little bit around, sort of like Jeff was mentioning, the exact reasons he sort of left. It is, like, we know part of it, as Rutherford alluded to, is, going back to the East Coast. That is sort of advantageous for him, being a little bit closer to home, although he spent his off seasons in Vegas recently. overall, I still do wonder if part of the reason is just the instability for the franchise beyond next season surrounding Quinn Hughes' future. And you can't come out, and if you're Rick Tocchet, if that played a part in your decision-making process, you can't come out and just say that publicly. You're really doing the organization dirty with something like that. So nothing groundbreaking, honestly, from that interview. I think he understands the temperature in this market really well. I think he was aware of a lot of the narratives. I think parts of it obviously, probably frustrated him, right? Like, I don't think he liked the criticism of the over reliance on dump and chase hockey. But overall, I mean, again, there wasn't a lot that was groundbreaking from there. It did strike me that he seems really confident that Paterson's going to bounce back next season. But again, it's a lot easier to say complimentary things of an organization once you've left it and you kind of want to leave on good terms, as opposed to sort of when you're in it. Clearly, not saying that Tocchet didn't believe Paterson was going to bounce back, but the commentary during Tocchet's end of year availability about he's got to meet us in the middle and the buy-in, that was a lot different than what we heard from Tocchet on Donnie and Dolly talking about Paterson today.
A lot easier to say you expect to bounce back when you're not going to be held responsible if that bounce back doesn't happen, right? So, yeah, that was kind of my takeaway too. I think you touched on everything. The practice facility, we brought it up earlier. He even said he'd be lying if he said that wasn't a reason. It's got to get done. I don't want to talk about it more. I really don't. I know we talk about it a lot. It's like you said, I never would have thought we'd be talking about it this much, but it does. It just has to get done, and it just has to get started. Like, it has to get properly started, and I don't know. I don't want to talk about it more. I don't want to. Okay, I had another thing. Our round 2 picks. Jacob sent us these, so we're going to go over them. And I also want to make our round 3 picks. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to get to before we do this? Or you guys good to do this? All right. So I'll remind everybody of my picks. All right. Panthers in 5. I got the winner right. Capitals in 6. I got that wrong. Oilers in 7. I got that correct with the team, and then I picked Jets in 7. So I went 2 for 4, and I got none of the games right. So I'm going to say I went 0 for 4. Harmon said Panthers in 6, so he was a little closer than I was. He got the right winner. Canes in 6, got the right winner. How many games did that take? Wasn't that 5? Did it end in 6? Okay,
it was 5. Yeah.
Okay. Harmon actually got every single one right.
Florida, baby.
Right.
Yeah, he got all the winners right.
Yeah.
I got 3 of them correct. The only one I got wrong was I had Leafs in 7, which stupid me thinking that the Toronto Maple Leafs would show up in the game 7. Well, now I will say, I went into that, and if you guys rewind to that show, I said, I think the difference for the Leafs this year will be their goaltending. And look, I don't want to blame Joseph Woll for that series. And I talked to some of my friends who follow the Leafs, and I asked them point blank, I said, like, look, I don't think Woll is the reason the Leafs lost. There was plenty of other things that would rank a lot higher. But if Stolarz hadn't gotten hurt, would the Leafs have won the series?
No.
And they said maybe. And they just said that game 3 might have gone differently with Stolarz in net. And if they go up 3-0, they were confident the Leafs would find a way to win in probably in 6 games.
There's no way I'm glossing over Harmon.
I know.
No.
I'm sorry, but like, they scored 1 goal in game 7. They scored 1 goal in game 5. I don't care what goaltender you put in net.
Yeah. Well, and
they weren't winning that series, even with Stolarz healthy.
Well, and again, the only game when I look at it is maybe game 3, right? You lose that game 5-4 in overtime. Maybe you find a way to win that game with Stolarz in net over Woll, and then you're up 3-0 in the series. But you're right, Harm. Like, basically everything later in that series, with the exception of the Leafs win in game 6, doesn't matter who was in net.
Yeah. I was thinking of wearing a suit today for the Maple Leafs downfall, but I hitched my wagon to them like early, so I can't do that anymore. Obviously, I love the Leafs meltdown. I'm always excited to see it. I just thought my hockey analyst, unbiased brain thought that this might have been the year that they figured it out, but I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, part of the issue too is you could say, "Oh, Stolarz got hurt," but that's part of the knock on him is he gets hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. He only played. I want to look it up. But he spent a lot of the regular season hurt too. He only played 34 games in the regular season. durability has long been a concern with Stolarz. And the second point is honestly, you just like your thought process wasn't wrong. And the series ended up being closer as far as like going to 7 games than I think a lot of us anticipated anyway. But this is the mistake I made last year during the first time we did these bracket picks is I picked the Leafs in 7 to beat the Bruins. You just never picked the Leafs to win a game 7.
Yeah, that was the mistake. And now I will say in Stolarz's defense, like, yes, durability is an issue, but this injury was an elbow that he got to the side of the head, right? Like, I don't think even if he was a durable guy,
Glass jaw.
He's probably still getting injured from that. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Harm. My big mistake was just not believing in the Leafs to potentially come through in the series, but believing in them to win a game 7. That's where I went.
Yeah.
Wrong.
I do like, though, that Harmon said no and is also saying, oh, Stolar is injury prone. Only losers get concussions.
Probably a more tactful way of wording that. But I mean, when they signed him and when they were leaning on him, the whole idea was he's talented when he's healthy, but sort of got hurt again. And yeah, look, Sam Bennett probably should have been suspended like a game for that. He's the number of guys he's hurt in the playoffs with these like gray area hits and things that just cross the line, but not enough to get suspended, especially like the accidentally on purpose. It's excessive, but that's also part of the reason why Bennett is so valuable in the playoffs, as awful as that sounds, is because he is a wrecking ball and can hurt guys.
That dude's cashing in. We're gonna do free agency picks down the road. I'm getting it in now. Sam Bennett's back in Calgary next year. Book it. They're gonna sign him.
Whoa.
Yeah, Sam Bennett's back in Calgary.
Whoa. That is a hot take.
Serious run at him. I bet the Flames take a serious run at him.
I could see that, but I don't know if you'd want to go back to Calgary.
The reason he wanted to leave Calgary, okay, I was going to save this because I was talking to some Flame sources today. The reason he asked to leave Calgary was because they just kept giving him 4th line minutes. And he was just like, I just want to go be the guy. Like, it wasn't like Calgary's cold like Matthew Tkachuk did or whatever. It was, no, I just want to go be the guy somewhere. I don't really care where it is. Like, he wasn't like doing the Pierre-Luc Dubois, like, oh my gosh, it's so chilly here. Get me out of here. He wanted to go just be the guy somewhere, and he was the guy in Florida. And now he's going to cash in. We'll see. I'm putting it in there now. Sam Bennett cashes in, ends up with Calgary Flames. Okay, I want to get to our round 3 picks. Let's just rifle these off. I got like 5 minutes before my computer shuts down for an automatic update. So let's try to wrap it up in that time. Let's go. The first series starts off tonight. Florida Panthers versus Carolina Hurricanes. I am saying the Panthers go back to the Cup final. I'm going Panthers in 6.
Yeah, I'm going Panthers in 7.
Jacob.
I gotta go different from you guys. I'm gonna say boring hockey wins games. Carolina in 7.
Oh, please don't give me the Canes in the Cup final. Don't do it to me. Okay, Edmonton, Dallas. Of course, that one kicks off tomorrow. I am going Oilers in 7.
Oilers in.
Oh.
I'm torn between 6 or 7. I'll go 7 but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 6 either.
I'll say Oilers in 7.
Love it. Okay. I did also want to mention no show tomorrow. We're going to take the day off. The Family Feud survey. How are we doing on responses for that, Jacob?
We need some more. So no show tomorrow. So this is the last show before Family Feud. Make sure you get your survey responses in.
Yeah, get your survey responses in. Podcast description, YouTube description, wherever. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. There's so many people that watch the show every day that aren't subscribed, and that's just the most weird. That's the weirdest thing to me. That's so weird. But anyways, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Like the video as well. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day, which is brought to you by, you guessed it, Bet365. Oh my gosh. Also, I put on a clinic this past weekend. Let's not forget that I literally called on my last Bet365 bet of the day. I said, you take the Leafs in game 6. And then I literally told everyone, I said, take the Leafs in game 6. They were at plus 195 odds. When they win that game, take whatever winnings you had and keep them. And then put the same amount, just put that back on the Panthers in game 7 because the odds will be closer. That's exactly what I did this weekend. And I made myself some money by following that. So when you know the vibes, you know the vibes. I hope people tailed that because I laid out the blueprint and we made some money this weekend. Let's do it again tonight. The Florida Panthers are underdogs in game 1, which is, of course, is in Carolina. Do they have the rest advantage? I don't know. I am going with the Panthers, who are just got through a series themselves. I'm going with the Panthers money line. You can get that at plus 110. Plus 110 Panthers money line. That is our bet of the day, brought to you by Bet365. They've got you covered for the Stanley Cup playoffs. From game props, player props, totals, and the money line, you can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right, Harm, you like that pick?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Final thoughts? Anything?
I think it's just hilarious now, the where do the Leafs go from here conversation. I don't see a path for them getting better next season because, I mean, let's be honest, both their options with Mitch Marner stink. Yep. You either let a 100-point winger walk for nothing in free agency, or you double down and sign him to $13.5 or $14 million contract extension or whatever it's going to cost. And at that point, you're stuck basically doubling down on the core four, which sounds untenable. So the time to trade Marner was the summer of 2023. Before his no trade kicked in, around the time that you had the management change from Dubas to Tree Living, they had enough kicks at the can. You would have gotten a haul for Marner with 2 years left on his contract. No trade protection. That was your perfect opportunity to reshape the core. Now you're screwed if you're the Leafs.
Dude, and how good would Rantanen look if he waived that no move clause? The fact that got out, first of all, like that is the cherry on top for Mitch Marner flipping the bird to Toronto, right? Do we agree on that?
Yeah.
Because Rantanen would answer so many problems, but they don't have a Rantanen.
Leafs probably make the Eastern Conference Final if they have Mikko Rantanen. Rantanen's been arguably the best player in these playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And look, was Nathan McKinnon a Mikko Rantanen merchant? More and more people are saying this because, man, oh man, I don't see Nate McKinnon in these playoffs. I do see Mikko Rantanen. I want to give a quick shout out to our team at theleafsnation.com. If you're looking for the Leafs meltdown and what's coming out of their media day, which is happening today, theleafsnation.com. It's honestly a great resource. Arun Srinivasan, who we had on the show before, does a great job. Him and his team there just do a fantastic job keeping you literally up to date. The way Canucks Army covers like everything about the Canucks and like things that you probably don't actually need to know, but if you want to know, it's over there at Canucks Army. That's what they do at TLN. They're on top of everything coming out of media day today. So I want to give them a shout out. If you want to read about the Leafs, know more about them, head on over to theleafsnation.com. All right, we will close it out there. For my co-host, Harmon Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Azar, my name is Dave Quadrelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.